If you ever looked at your finches during a heavy molt and wish you could do something to help them, well, stick around because today I'm going to give you some great tips to help you get your feathered friends through this stressful period. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel where I help you with finch info, tips and tricks. The molt is arguably one of the toughest and most stress-filled times of the year for our finches. So in today's video we'll look at what molting is and, more importantly, what we can do to ensure our finches go through a smooth molt without any complications. What is molting and why does it happen? Molting is a natural physiological process that all bird species go through, usually either once or twice a year, whereby they shed the old worn out feathers and replace them with the nice new ones to help them get through the winter months. In some finch breeds it can happen gradually and is less noticeable, but in others, such as golden finches, it occurs over a much shorter period and is usually a very heavy process which can leave them looking a little bit worse for wear, to say the least. With most finch breeds, the molt generally signifies the end of the breeding season. However, some finches, such as the zebra finch, can breed and molt simultaneously, with wild specimens of the breed molting on and off throughout the year. There are many factors contributing to the process too. Age, diet, temperature, time of year and daylight length, just to name some. Regardless of the triggers, all birds go through it at some point, with some taking longer than others to complete the cycle. The molting process explained. For argument's sake, we'll look at captive golden finch, as they're popular amongst finch keepers and also the one bird that during a heavy molt can really worry new owners because of how drastic they can look. The annual molt starts with the 4 primary flight feathers of each wing being replaced one at a time and in sequence. Primary flight feathers are the outermost feathers on the wing and are what generate thrust. Without the primaries, your finch can't fly, hence why replacement happens one at a time. Most owners won't notice this stage, as there aren't many feathers to be found yet. After the 4th primary flight feather is regrown, the main wing molt begins, with the remaining 5 or 6 primary flight feathers and the secondary flight feathers being replaced in sequence, and again one at a time. The secondary flight feathers are the innermost feathers which sit closer to the body, and their job is to provide lift and stability. This phase is now more noticeable to us as the new sheaths start to become visible and the body feathers begin being replaced simultaneously. Once the body feathers start, you'll notice loose feathers everywhere, and it's at this point where your birds will start to look worryingly patchy, but it's completely normal and no cause for alarm. The second phase of the wing molt happens along with the body molt, and it's at this point where your finches will experience a great deal of stress, as from a physiological standpoint, huge changes in the body chemistry begin to occur. Now is the time when we can step in and help them through this extremely tough time. The final part of this process is usually signified by the loss and replacement of the head feathers, and depending on your geographical location, this stage is generally concluded by the latter point of the year in order for them to survive through the winter months with a nice new warm coat. Helping your finches through the molt. Your finch's feathers are made up of 90% protein and contain over 25% of the total protein found in their bodies, so during the molt it makes sense that we can help our birds by increasing their protein intake. I do this by giving my finches egg food or fresh boiled egg more frequently and up it to 5 days a week instead of the usual 2. Growing new feathers uses up way more energy than usual, and as our finches' fat stores take a big hit, fatty food should be also increased. Mine are given French red millet for 5 days a week again instead of the usual 2. As the new feathers grow, the sheaths need to be removed in order for the feathers to emerge, and so it's important for our finches to receive more downtime so they can groom and preen undisturbed. I help mine with this by reducing their light exposure by a couple of hours a day, and I spend less time interacting with them in the bird room so they get plenty of rest. Feathers keep our finches warm, and losing them leaves them susceptible to becoming colder in lower temperatures. I always make sure mine stay warm by adjusting the thermostat on the bird room heater so it stays at a constant 24 to 25 degrees. Water acts as a great lubricant for newly emerging feathers to help push through and clear the increased dander that comes along with the skin itching, so daily baths are hugely important for our molting finches. Some of my birds won't bathe every day despite being offered the baths daily, and so to make sure they're getting a good soaking, I spray them with a misting bottle each day. Like mine, your birds might not be too fond of that, but at the end of the day it's for their own good, and if they could, they'd thank you for it in the long run. It's a hard process for all our birds to go through, and you'll notice your finches will be less vocal and spend less time flying about like maniacs as they start to go deeper into their molt. So, I personally believe that helping them through as much as we can is one of our duties as a responsible finch keeper. A good balanced diet is hugely important in general, and even more so throughout the molting period. At this time, amino acids and vitamins A through to E are absolutely vital for our finches to have a successful molt. They'll help the process to run smoothly, aid in stress relief, and help in the production of a healthy plumage. There are numerous products out there that we can utilise to help our birds through the molting period. Featherfast and Feather Up are two that are used by many and with great success. Just be sure to look into what works best for you and your birds so you can make an informed decision.